So let's talk about paradoxes. You know, those brain-bending logical puzzles that seem to completely break reality. But what if they're not actually flaws in the universe at all? What if they're more like clues, pointing to a much, much deeper truth about existence itself? Well, they're both paradoxes that really challenge our most basic ideas about how the world works. And get this, by figuring out the first one, we might just get the tools we need to solve the second. Okay, let's dive right in. All right, our first stop is ancient Greece, with a puzzle so clever, it seems to prove that something we see every single day, motion, is actually completely impossible. I mean, that's the wild question at the heart of what's called Zeno's dichotomy paradox. The argument is basically that for an arrow to even get to its target, it would have to do an infinite number of things first, which, well, that's logically impossible. Here's how the logic goes. To get anywhere, you first have to get halfway there, right? But before you can get halfway, you have to go a quarter of the way. And before that, an eighth, a 16th. You see where this is going. It goes on forever. Zeno's conclusion? Since the journey has an infinite number of steps, it can never, ever begin. And yet, we know for a fact that arrows hit targets. So what's the deal? The solution, it turns out, lies in this really powerful idea. We have to be able to tell the difference between our models of reality and reality itself. In other words, we have to know the difference between the map and the territory. You see, a paradox isn't some glitch in the matrix. It's more like a warning light on the dashboard of our understanding. It's telling us that our map is wrong, or at least incomplete. And the whole point of gaining knowledge isn't just to learn facts. It's to find and fix these bugs in our own mental code. So this framework is super helpful. It breaks our thinking down into 4 domains. First, you've got reality. That's the territory, what actually is. It's finite and consistent. Then you have physics, which is our best attempt at a map of that territory. Next is mathematics, the abstract, limitless language we use to write the map. And finally, concepts, which is just the boundless world of our minds where ideas come from. Paradoxes pop up when we get these mixed up, when we apply the rules of one domain, like math, to another, like reality. And that is exactly the mistake Zeno made. He took a property of the mathematical map, the idea that a line can be divided into infinite points, and he tried to apply it to the physical territory, where a real arrow travels a finite distance in a finite amount of time. He literally confused the language we use to describe things with the things themselves. Okay, so now that we have this incredibly useful tool, this idea of the map versus the territory, let's go big. Let's apply it to the ultimate paradox, the beginning of the entire universe. This is the classic paradox of the first cause. The logic seems rock solid, right? Everything that happens is caused by something that came before it. It's a basic law of our experience. But if you try to follow that chain of cause and effect backward, you hit a massive, massive wall. Think about it. If every cause has to have a prior cause, that chain of dominoes just stretches back forever. There's no starting point. There's no first domino to fall. Logically, that means the universe could never have actually started. And yet, here we are. This is a huge bug in our conceptual map. The solution might mean we have to draw a completely new map. What if the universe didn't start with a first cause in the way we usually think about it? What if it emerged from some kind of state that exists outside our normal rules of time and causation? This model suggests that before time even existed, there was a state of pure potential. You can think of it as a state of perfect order, what physicists call zero entropy. The Big Bang wasn't the first domino falling in a chain. It was more like a sudden quench, like water instantly freezing into ice. It was a phase change that caused this potential to snap into the reality we know. So, is this just a cool story, or is it a better map? Well, unlike a philosophical argument, a really good physical map has to make predictions that we can actually go out and test. And this first quantum model makes 2 very specific, very testable predictions about the leftover echoes from the early universe. And the results? They're absolutely stunning. When we run a massive simulation of the universe based on this model, its prediction for when the very first light was released, the cosmic microwave background, matches our real-world satellite data with over 99.8% accuracy. That's just wow. I mean, you can see it right here on the chart. The standard model gets pretty close, but look at the first Quanta model. It's almost dead on with the real-world data. So this isn't just some neat philosophical trick to solve a paradox. It's a working, physical map that describes the territory with incredible precision. But it gets even crazier. This new map, which starts from a state of perfect order, has even deeper implications. It suggests that consciousness, our own internal drive to create order and meaning, might not just be some random accident. It might be a fundamental part of how the universe works. Check out this fascinating duality. On one hand, you have the physical universe. It's always moving from order toward disorder, thanks to entropy. But consciousness does the exact opposite. It takes in all this chaotic, messy sensory data from the world and organizes it into structured, ordered meaning. Consciousness is literally an engine that builds its own universe of perfect order. It creates this whole network of abstract concepts, things like justice or love or dignity, that have infinite depths and relate to each other with perfect logic. It's like a mirror image of the universe's initial state of pure potential, but instead of matter and energy, it's expressed as meaning. Okay, so let's tie all of this together. If the universe started in a state of pure potential, and consciousness is this engine creating a state of pure meaning, what's the point of everything in between? What is this whole process for? Let's try an analogy from computer science. Imagine the universe is trying to solve an impossibly hard problem. The term NP represents the entire set of all possible answers to that problem. This is the universe's starting point, infinite potential, every path it could possibly take. And then you have P, which represents a single correct answer that's easy to check once you have it. This is the reality we actually live in, the one single path the universe actually took out of all those infinite possibilities. It's the verified solution to the cosmic problem. And this brings us to this mind-blowing idea called the theory of conciseness. It proposes that time itself is the computation. The universe is a grand engine whose entire purpose is to solve for its own existence, to collapse the infinite potential of NP into the single, concise P solution that we call reality. So, from an impossible arrow all the way to the birth of the cosmos, we've seen that paradoxes aren't dead ends, they're signposts. They show us where our maps are wrong and they challenge us to draw better ones. Which really leaves us with one final big question. What is the biggest flaw in our current map of reality? And what happens when we finally figure out how to fix it?